family. Happy Tuesday and happy Tuesday morning. First of all, please continue to tune in and join. Join to the discussion, add to the dialogue. I love the emails that you're sending me. Continue to do so that I can continue to announce them and to show the justification community that literally the community is real and that the community is searching for the same goal, that the community is searching for the same experience, and to share, to broaden, to narrow down, to make that experience more real. And that actually is a good transition to from what we were last talking about, or what I last brought up, claiming, claiming the conversation, claiming the experience from what we think we know, or from where we think we are in our spiritual or religious experience, claiming it. And so moving forward from claiming to reclaiming. And why reclaiming? I'm saying reclaiming because the Bible has a track record or a history of the people or the servants of God in captivity and then being liberated from that captivity by the Creator. This is a continual experience, and it is a continual experience for a residual effect for what is going on within us. So everything that happened back then is a bit of a transition. The transition being the captivity at this point in time, it is not a physical captivity. The captivity is a mental or an inward captivity. And in order to let the living God work, as the living God does, go back to how we talked about the void, becoming the void, because that is in Genesis the sphere of creation of for what the living God is, can, and will do. Darkness, voidness. Still not sure if that's a word. Still rolling with it though. Voidness. If that's still a thing for creation, and we can see, you look outside, like my window next to me is showing me creation. So the voidness isn't there anymore physically. But if we can transition that to what is within, we can see that that voidness is still there and does exist within each and every single one of us, although we can't see it, resting within. And resting within, that lets us know that the experience is inward, the experience is mental. The Bible's calling for a mental a mental experience. A mental experience similar to, you can go back to the Exodus. The Exodus was just being broken down about a religious enslaved experience. The people couldn't honor their God the way that they wanted to. They couldn't sacrifice to their God on their Sabbath. They couldn't honor their God with their own offerings and sacrifices. There was liberation that was needed. And their cries for liberation, their cries are what allowed them to then move and act, from moving and acting to then determining their own destiny, and from determining their own destiny, for continuing to create the destiny of those that will come after them. Now that's the same for us, except transitioning that to what is within, to what is inward, to what is within. The captivity, and we can, and I brought this up last time from Paul also, the captivity, as in Ephesians 4, Paul is advising us, put off your former conversation, your old man, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. This old man isn't a literal old man, it is translated to be mind. And man translates in a more clear definition to be minister. So the Bible, in prophetic language, man transitions or translates to mean minister. So the old minister, Paul is asking us to put off so that we can put on the new minister, but not before renewing the spirit of our minister, the inward conversation's conscience. So that's a lot. And it's a lot because there's a lot to accept in it. Paul isn't saying this because the people that he's speaking to have a just relationship with the Creator. Paul isn't saying this because he's acknowledging or speaking to people that are right or that are performing right behaviors in their devotional conversation. The book of Ephesians is written not for right minded individuals. They're written to ministers that are fraudulent in their behavior towards the movement's philosophy. And being fraudulent, Paul is pointing to the fact of not just here, but in Galatians and in Romans, Abraham. Abraham becomes the standard now. The conflict at this time was a conflict of who can be a Jew, like who can be a Jew, right? So there was a barrier between Jew and Gentile. Gentile meaning converts to Judaism. There was a barrier between natural born Jews and Jews that were converts, coming from their pagan religious lifestyle. How do you settle that? Circumcision can't do it because that's still you're not natural. It's just an act. And what good is an act when it does nothing for the heart? So what more can be done to determine an individual a quote unquote Jew? Well, the more that can be done is associated with your ability to exercise faith and to exercise faith in an experience. And more than that, the circumcision not being physical now has to be inward. Yet there's a process of cutting off or a circumcision related to one's former devotional belief. So Paul is maintaining the same theory, but he's making it more real, allowing us to understand that this physicality has done nothing for us. Hebrews 10, verse 1 and 2, Hebrews 9. It does nothing. What matters now is the exercising of faith, and the exercising of faith being displayed as Abraham did, but now in a more sure way, through our ability to put off our former minister, our former conversation, and to be renewed in the spirit of our mind. All of that Paul is saying, which we too at this point in time, because if we are here listening to what Paul is saying, we are not natural born Jews. As Paul says in the book of Romans, we are Jews inwardly, and the circumcision is not of the flesh, but of the spirit of the mind, within the heart. So Paul is calling for everyone in his audience to listen for the sound of their faith's voice for the purpose of reclaiming that voice. What that means is the conversation is not well. Conversation as it stands is not well, whether back then, and everything that's written in the Bible is present tense, so it stands for us presently. So there's a work of accepting and of learning that our conversation off the bat, from where it is conceived, is not well. And even if we don't have that acknowledgement yet, treating it as Paul would treat it, we can take steps to do what Paul is saying at wherever we are to get our conversation right in mind. That theme of captivity from within the Bible follows up until now. It is captivity that is not physical, but it is captivity that is mental, religious, or spiritual, or devotional. And it is captivity to religion of Egypt, not literal, it is now figurative. So there is a bit of a point of clarity that our faith has to go through to reclaim. And this is something that I've been talking about in my broadcast, Justification. The work that is attached to reclaiming the conversation through Emmanuel. Emmanuel meaning God with us, but in the Hebrew, that word with doesn't really mean with as it says in the Bible. It means within. So the inward work that is to occur within, that is the work of reclaiming. And if the Bible will say, I will create a new covenant, whereby I will write my law on their inward parts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people, and they will know me. Again, this isn't written because things are right. This isn't written because people are doing things right. This is written because if something has to come within and has to be engraved within, that is God Himself letting us know that we are wrong in how we think, how we feel, how we act, how we behave spiritually or devotionally. And that's a transition. As it was in Egypt, so in the wilderness, that was also a transition. They went from a physical to a mental. And so the physical and the physical and the mental, the division there is showing a separation and understanding from where we need to be at. So the Bible is using this illustration of the Exodus, physical in Egypt. In the wilderness, they had nothing physical. They had to rely only on their mind, only on executing commandments by faith. It went from a physical experience to a mental experience. And that was I guess, the foreshadowing for us, even as Paul would say in Galatians 4, chapter 4, and in chapter 5. The figurative illustrations that were there are for us now in our own personal and intimate relationship with the Creator. The more that we grow familiar with the character that is within the Bible, it is the more that we can understand the captivity that when our faith is conceived is in. We are, just as you can look outside and there's folks out there that say, oh, we're in a simulation, we're trapped. There's folks out there that say, oh, there is no God in existence, we're trapped. There's a lot of realness that exists out there, believed to be a matrix, and we are just confined to it. And there's liberation from other parties out there looking for relief. Well, it's no different for us within the religious world. The story or the narrative within the Bible is devotional captivity, devotional regeneration, devotional captivity, devotional resurrection. Captivity meaning a false reality, resurrection into the new reality. And so that same concept that is secular, same secular concept, we can actually say that it begins spiritually. So while we are comfortable in what we would have devotionally or spiritually, we cannot lose sight of the fact that there is something within us that turns to the scriptures for relief, for understanding reality. For me personally, that's what it is, still is, and will always be about. Making sense of my reality from a wisdom that is higher that is from within myself. And it is ascending to a higher understanding of my personal reality that continues to draw me into the Bible so that I don't forget the reason why I am tuned in to the scriptures. And that's what my course, the School of Reform, and the main course, Knowing Bible, is about. It's about bringing the student back to the underlying reason for why they would concern themselves with the scriptures. Because everyone that does reach out to me, they plainly and confidently assert that there is something missing from their devotional experience and they want to reclaim it. And so this issue of reclaiming, it is not something I am making up. It's not an experience that is not known. It's in the Bible, it's in the world, it's in me, it's in every single person that has tuned into the scriptures. And the process of, I can't even get away from this phrase or sentence, the process of justification is about reclaiming. And that's what makes this subject so enlightening. Justification encompasses the entire scope of the philosophy within the Bible, from beginning to end. And creation, reclaiming, all of these things are showing that the state that needs to be created or reclaimed, it's not a positive state. So Bible is not commending our present service to the Creator at all. This is, again, Bible is present tense. The Bible doesn't commend our service, whether we are lay, whether we are pastor, whether we are curious, whether we are no longer associated. The Bible is wanting us to understand that no matter what we believe or do not now believe, captivity is the reason for the feeling that we have. And it is the captivity that we are experiencing or have been that we need to find alleviation from. And that alleviation is a test. And Paul again puts it perfectly. The test is our own self. It's funny, you experience life and you realize that the only true enemy that you have is you. You realize that the only true enemy that exists is you. Only your own thoughts can stop you from achieving the potential that you know you could be reaching. Like, only self. So it's the same thing when it comes to our devotional experience. The only thing that can stop the growth and the development of our devotional experience is us. And when I say us, I mean our human being and the ego associated to it. Because we like to have a religious experience that is quite human. Again, being quite human, it is a physical experience. Our traditional or understanding of a religious or spiritual experience is physical. If it's not physical, it's not God. If it's not, and that's what the issue was in the book of John. You had somebody walking around doing something that wasn't physical. And the only thing the Sanhedrin could say was, oh, those that don't know the law are cursed. Same, nothing's changed. The physical stuff has to be let go of, and the mental stuff. The mental experience is what matters. So let this week, and everything that you may pass through be taken for a mental experience for the purpose of creation, creating your devotional character to what it's supposed to be, and enlightening your human being to the fact that your character is going through such an experience. So take care for now. Have a desire to take your conversation to its highest potential? If you do, hop on over to my website and check out the School of Reform. Yes, school is most definitely in. Knowing Bible is the course that I am now offering to take your conversation to its next level. Grow closer not simply with the philosophy that is within the Bible, grow closer not simply with the devotional character of the living God, but grow closer with yourself also. So head on over to my website, check out the School of Reform, and check out Knowing Bible. This is the course for the learner that wants to make their life, both personal and devotional, more full.